Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Cancer of 2021, occurring on January 13th, 2021 at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This particular new moon comes with a few very interesting aspects to it. So let's get into them. You can see the new moon down here at the bottom of the chart, both the moon and the sun, when they come together in a conjunction. We would consider this a new moon when they sit in the same degrees in the sky. What's interesting about this new moon is how closely it sits to the planet Pluto. Not only that, but it's also square Eris. And if you've listened to this channel before, heard me talk about Eris before, she comes in hot. She's a really difficult energy, and for good reason. And we also have a square to the creation goddess. When you put all of this together, we're looking at a T-squaring energy, which is one of the more challenging energies that planetary and asteroid aspects can make to one another in the arena of astrology. There's also a sextile here to our friend Neptune, which is not helping matters. Let's just say that. So if you've been listening to the Lightworker energy updates for the new and full moons, the last two of them, I described a very difficult energy coming forward in the collective that was going to allow us to see, unfortunately, some of the worst of humanity. We are also going to, with this same energy, have the opportunity in front of us to rise and become some of the best of humanity in the face of this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is going to be about choice. It always has been, it always will be. But the planetary energies here are not making matters easy. Pluto conjunct this new moon. Pluto is about death and endings. Pluto is about the completion of cycles. Pluto also rules our fears, and it rules places of power imbalance or power plays, misuse of power, and our shadow energies. With a new moon or new cycle coming in right on top of Plutonian energy with a 90-degree angle to Eris and a 90-degree angle to the creation goddess. This is a period of time that's letting us know that whatever happened before this in the collective, that cycle is now done. We are now going to move into a very different kind of energy. It's going to be a very different ball game from here forward. And this is just last lunation, this is just the prefix, the setup. These are kind of the appetizers, so to speak, of some of what's coming forward next. So let's talk about these two energies here, the creation goddess and Eris, because most astrologers won't, but I have seen that they have played a significant role in the way that collective energies, when we are unconscious, we can be influenced by them. Eris energy, she is the energy, I've talked about her in previous videos, of righteous riot. When Eris feels like she has been excluded a seat from the table, when she feels like she has been overlooked, disenfranchised, ignored. Eris, E-R-I-S, you can Google her. Eris is the energy that rather than sitting down to peaceably work things out, she will start chaos. Chaos and discord follow her where she goes. But she only does that when she feels like she is not being heard. We've got the creation goddess over here to the left, Haumea. The creation goddess is the Hawaiian creation goddess, specifically known for having populated all of the earth with all of the creatures on the earth by herself. Where creation goddess sits is where we have the opportunity for new energy, new beginnings to come forward by leaning into our femininity. What's interesting about that is that when we have a T square, which is what we have here, we have three energies sitting, two of them in opposition, and then the third one at a 90-degree angle to the first two. The way to work with this energy to resolve this tension that comes up is to lean into the sign that's conspicuous in its omission. Lean into the energy that is not occupied, and in this circumstance, that's Cancer. Cancerian energy is about understanding our emotions. What is it that we are feeling? What is at the root of what we are feeling? And how are we allowing those feelings to dictate our choices? Because Cancerian energy is the solution to the challenges in the energy that we are seeing here. What we have the opportunity to do is to take a good hard look at our emotions, what's at the root of them, what's driving them, and then take a look, what do we need? If this is what our emotions are telling us, they are signaling to us that there is something here that we need. And the answer is always going to start with love. Okay. So, challenging energies for sure. The Neptunian component to this, speaking to this particular new moon, adds a degree of maybe haziness, a degree of lack of kind of clarity to some degree, and maybe even an idea that some of our more wilder approaches to things, some of our more destructive tendencies might come from a very spiritual place, but that's not necessarily the case. Things can complete with us. We can let me put it this way. We can complete cycles and end relationships and cross bridges without burning them down. We can release a thing without destroying it in the process. And the way to do that is to lean into what is our emotional truth about who we are. Who do we want to say we've been at the end of our lives? What do we want to say we've stood for? Where did we plant our flag? What emotional truth did we know was worth taking a stand for? So, for those of you who are, in countries where there have been lots and lots and lots of protesting in the last six months or so, the United States in particular, I've definitely seen this trend throughout India. There's been a lot of this in Hong Kong, in Asia. On the whole, there is an energy in the air of needing to figure out how, because we are all one people in one country, how are we going to move forward together as opposed to move forward in a way that excludes some people while allowing other people to have the fruits of everyone else's labor? How are we going to find a way to balance the scales and live in harmony with one another? This is our task as humans on planet Earth at this time, and it's never been more urgent than now for us to find out those ways forward. Now, this energy of difficulty is accentuated. In addition to Pluto and the new moon sitting together, there's a couple of other difficulties here as well. We've got Jupiter and Saturn conjunct here in the sign of the unexpected, but they are also in a hard square, a 90-degree angle to Mars conjunct Uranus. Mars can represent our militaries, and Uranus again can represent surprise, upheaval, lightning fast change. It can represent the unpredicted, the unprecedented. When you have tension between Saturn, the disciplinarian, Jupiter, opportunity and luck, and Uranus, the unexpected, and Mars, the military, This is not the recipe, specifically given how much energy Pluto is giving to this new moon cycle. This is not the energy of a peaceable moving forward. In fact, this is an energy of dramatic change, dramatic tension, dramatic upheaval. So the way to work with this energy, because it doesn't have to be this way in your life, this energy has been brewing for some time. The things that need to change, where Taurus sits in your chart and where Aquarius sits in your chart, this is where you want to pay attention to. What you want to pay attention to, you want to pay attention to what houses are covered by the sign of Taurus and what area of life is that, and what area of life is covered by the sign of Aquarius. And you can get a free chart on my website, kmoonastro.com. You just go over to birth chart and get a free chart there, and you can Google what house and what it represents there once you know where Taurus and Aquarius sit. These two places for you are demanding that you change the way you are operating in these two areas of life. And you want to think about the connection between these two houses. How do they influence one another? What do these two houses have to say about one another? How do they rely on one another in your chart? How are they related to one another? So, for example, you might have, I spoke to a woman earlier today who has an Aquarius second house and a Taurus fifth house. House 2 is all about values. House 5 is all about flirtations and romantic liaisons. House 2 is about earned income. House 5 is about creativity and starting of new things. So for her, she was in the process of starting a new business, but in order for her to be able to get it to success, she had to be thinking outside of the box and doing something she had never done before in order to create financial stability in that second house. She was going to have to approach this business in a way she'd never approached anything before. Likewise, in the arena of dating, that fifth house rules flirtation, that second house rules all of our self esteem and self worth. In order for her to stop repeating the same cycles in the arena of dating, she was going to have to value herself and her self worth and self esteem in a brand new way, in a way she had never done it before, in order to get different results in house 5. Pay attention to where Aquarius and where Taurus governs your chart, because these are the two places that are demanding you pay attention and create some new patterns and behaviors so that you can get new change. There is tension there. That tension has already been brewing. The important thing to remember is to not lash out, to take this energy internal and say, how do I need to change in order to get my life to change, as opposed to how does somebody else need to change in order for me to feel good. It's important for us to look within. That's the work of this cycle. In the outer, in the collective, what you're going to be seeing is a lot more tension in those countries that I have mentioned. And if I haven't mentioned your country, but protests are a big thing happening in the collective energy in the last 6 months, you're going to see this start to come to culmination in the next 3 weeks. These things are going to start to come to a head as there is a reckoning in the arena of structure and government, military, and the people's values, as Mars moves through Taurus and has this conversation with Uranus, and as Saturn moves fully into and settles into Aquarius, the sign of the people, the revolution, change, and what the people need and what the people want. So know that this period of time is temporary, but the tension is necessary. It's a little bit like when you've had a broken bone and then it heals incorrectly. This period of time, these last 6 months and the next 3, have been a little bit of resurfacing that wound, re-breaking that bone, so that it can go into a proper formation and heal correctly. And that's what we're seeing here. Issues and tensions that have been in these places for, in many instances, decades. Issues that have been building for a decade or more now coming to the surface to be dealt with directly and being brought to government by the people, and the government and the people are needing to figure out, how do we get to a new page, a new era, a new conversation in a way that brings us all together? How do we allow ourselves to move past this point of pain and into our true power as one people in one country on the world stage? And this is for every country where this is happening, and there are many of them worldwide. So those are the overarching energies for this new moon in Cancer. Some of the other subtler energies, we've got Chiron hanging out here in Aries. Again, Aries is that sign that governs the military, but we also have Aries governing the self, the individual, and Chiron highlighting in the last year where everyone's wounds and triggers are, where everyone's soft spots are, where everyone needs to heal. This Chiron energy has pulled it out for us. Where you have Aries in your chart, the house where Aries sits, that's the house where you are being called to pay attention to your wounding and what it is you need to do in order to be able to heal. Okay, this Chiron piece is sextiling Jupiter and Saturn here, this new beginning energy in Aquarius. So a big chunk of this new beginning energy is us dealing with, where is it that in the past we have been wounded? We can't do what we used to do in those places. We have to take a new step and a new stand so that we are not carrying the past wounds or the past history into our future. We have to learn from our past so that we can create a new present and a new future. We've also got Venus here in a 90-degree angle to that Chiron. The Venusian energy is highlighting wounds of heartbreak and disappointment in the arena of work and business. It's no surprise this whole global pandemic experience has created a lot of disenfranchisement in the world of work. Capricorn represents work. And it's created for a lot of people some questions about their own self-worth. The issue here isn't to take this personally and wonder, well, what's wrong with me that I can't find work, I can't build work, I can't build a business. The issue here is to take a look for yourself and see, how have I been working in a way that is no longer congruent with my values when it comes to work? And how can I make new decisions in the world of work? Maybe you've had a job that just wasn't aligned with your passions, you lost it, and now you're in a place where it's like, okay, I'm going to have to build a business because I can't rely on someone to employ me. I have to figure out how to make money on my own. And maybe now that you're going to build that business, you'll look at it and say, okay, here's everything that really didn't work for me or align with my values and all the jobs I've had before now. Great. Now that I know, I can build something different. I can grow in a different direction. That's how to utilize this energy. The energy is, yes, heartbreak, and learning from the heartbreak, rising from the ashes. This is Phoenix energy. Okay. Use it like that. Do not park yourselves in your pain. There is a huge potential in the collective, and you guys are now seeing this play out now, where people are getting so caught up in their own wounds and their own pain that they're unwilling to have productive, solution-oriented conversations with themselves, with their family members, with their teams. Things are breaking because people can't come to the same page because they're so caught in their pain. That's Eris. What we're meant to do with this energy is learn from this so that we can rise together. In addition to this, we have Venus. Let's just clear this out. This Venus here is also having a conversation with this Mars. They're having a conversation called a trine. So this is heightening people's passion. It's heightening people's sense of urgency around their physical 3D world circumstances needing to change, as Mars sits in Taurus, earth sign, physical world, material world, and Venus sits in Capricorn, material world, specifically around money. A lot of the root of some of what we are witnessing at this time has especially, I'll say in the United States, because I know that birth chart has a lot to do with people feeling disenfranchised financially. And if people can start to get their financial needs met, we are going to start to see different types of conversations unfold. But much of what's happening is people feeling like, okay, financially, there's enough tension here where people want to see, okay, I need to see resources in my world expand so that I don't feel like I have to fight so much for a scrap. And this is some of what is at the root of the conversation, people needing to feel resourced and included at the bargaining table. Next, we have Juno here. Let me move my little navigation bar out of the way. Here's our friend Juno here at 7 degrees Sagittarius. She is having a conversation that is also in communication with Chiron. Again, wounds in partnership being highlighted in a harmonious way, letting us know here's where we can rise, here's where we can grow, here's where we can learn from what has happened before so we don't repeat the same mistakes. So, where if you have, I've spoken to several of you, you are leaving, exiting businesses, splitting up with business partners. Some of you are needing to separate with this energy, like will and last testament stuff with siblings. Others of you are needing to part ways. Some of you are parting ways with spouses. This parting of ways and the way Chiron is lighting this transit up is asking us to all pay attention to our wounds, but not to pander to them. Pay attention to them, but don't ask other people to be the source of fixing or healing them or paying for our woundedness in something that they need to do. Okay, we got wounded, we got it, we're responsible for our own healing. And if it means it's time to part ways because they're not interested in co creating or collaborating anymore, part ways. But trying to be in the process of forcing them to come into fixing our woundedness is not going to work at this point. We need to be responsible and accountable with Chiron moving through Aries, the sign of the individual, for our own wounding. This isn't necessarily us fixing it together. This is us standing up for what we've learned and taking responsibility for ourselves. Now, if they have decided, yes, I want to co create, I want to heal, I want to fix this with you, this energy, the trine, can provide a very spiritualized approach to rising together, which is going to be beautiful for those of you who are taking that route. But for those of you who know there's a parting of ways here, that's okay. Just make sure that you're doing that in the most peaceable way possible, because there is a lot of inflammatory energy in the collective energies here, and you have choice now that you know. Okay. We've got Neptune square the nodes, which I have been talking about for several lunations now. Neptune squaring the nodes does cloud judgment. It clouds direction. It clouds clarity for many people, unfortunately. So until the nodes shift out of this position in a few months' time, it's a little bit like we're all kind of under the spell of some of this chaotic energy in the collective. So to the degree that you are able to find your center, ground yourself, set up energetic protections, clear your energy, only deal where you have to deal in conflict. Otherwise, ask people if you can have 1, 2, or 3 months grace to think about some things and then come back to the bargaining table. There will be a more productive time in about 2-3 months' time for having difficult conversations. This energy at this time is not that. This is a period of time where most people who aren't initiated, that means not you, because you're here listening to this channel, you're pretty down the rabbit hole. But for the uninitiated, this energy can really carry people away in their pain and have them taking action with Uranus conjunct Mars that later people can really regret. So give yourself lots of space, lots of time. If your triggers are up, be with them. You pay attention to them, you honor them, do what you can to not bring them to somebody else and make somebody else responsible for them. Because there's certainly a bit of that energy here if we're going unconscious. But now you're conscious, now you know, now my Phoenix peoples, you can rise. The calendar for personal readings is open for that second week of February. If you'd like to go ahead and book, you are more than welcome to do so. I so much appreciate you watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thank you so much, and bye for now.